150 years old, Canada, in 2017. Good job, guys. Good job. Hello, everyone. I'm Dmitry, and the ASUS Zephyrus gaming notebook at Computex received so much incredible attention because of its thin profile. I measured my finger, and it's just as thin as the notebook at 18 millimeters. But it's not only about the thinness of the notebook, because a GTX 1080 has been placed inside. How did they do that in such a thin profile? So there's one keyword that's been sort of circling around this incredible machine, and that is NVIDIA Max-Q design. So what is it? Here it is, explained. Cooler Master Master Keys keyboard lineup is now available in 3 sizes to fit within your space, with large, medium, and small boards with either beautiful RGB or pure white LED illumination. A little something for everyone. Make it yours with the Master Keys Pro by Cooler Master. So to me, NVIDIA Max-Q design is one of the most exciting developments for gaming notebooks in 2017 because it acknowledges a slight performance compromise for the sake of a lighter, of a more power efficient, quieter, and a thinner gaming notebook. And obviously that's awesome. So the actual Max-Q term is derived from the aerospace industry, at which the aerodynamic pressure on a vehicle like a rocket or an aircraft is at its maximum. So the Max-Q point represents the toughest conditions something can withstand. So how does that apply to the PC notebook space? Well, for the GPU horsepower, trying to pack as much things as possible in a notebook, you have space, heat, acoustic, and electrical constraints. For example, a GTX 1080 is a 180 watt GPU, so how do you pack that into a gaming notebook that can only supply 90 watts of power due to thermal and electrical constraints? So Max-Q design is both a hardware and a software optimization that find a peak efficiency point between performance and power, as their relationship is non-linear. For example, by reducing the power of GTX 1080 by 40%, so from 150 watts to 90 watts, we only lose around 10% performance. And this is done through custom clock curves, tight voltage bands, and basically throttling the GPU to maintain a certain power limit, certain temperature limit, and certain acoustic limit as well. And this is important because until now, for the thin and light profile gaming notebooks, we only had the Razer Blade, which has a GTX 1060 and maintains that 18mm form factor. But now, with Max-Q design, we have GTX 1070 and a 1080 being rolled out for the same form factor, and that's pretty awesome. Now the GPUs remain the same, only the PCB has been redesigned, and obviously all the driver and software optimizations go through GeForce Experience. And so across the board, these GPUs will consume less power and operate at their peak efficiencies and custom clocks and voltages at a reasonable compromise of performance of around 10%. But of course, we'll have to wait and see that for ourselves. Now, what about acoustics? And this is really cool because Max-Q design notebooks will have a target of acoustic level at load of 40 dBA. And that's not even audible at arm's distance. That's like library sound. That's pretty good. My office is around like 34, 36 dBA. I'm pointing at the window where I'm looking at. So the notebook would be a little bit louder than what I'm getting from my completely isolated window. That's pretty good. And so specific core clocks and voltages will kick in to make sure the notebook stays quiet at load. And that's awesome because it's coming a long way. My MacBook is incredibly loud when it's trying to render something. Eber's Razer Blade is even louder. And if you've heard that thing, it's just like a jet engine. So we've come a long way to make sure that acoustics are actually under control without too much of the compromise on performance. Plus, a new whisper mode is introduced that will further reduce the acoustic level from 40 dBA at load to 32 dBA. This is only possible when the notebook is plugged in, and this basically they change the settings to the game so the stress on the GPU is not as high, and they also frame cap the game. So if you're doing FPS, 60 would be fine. If you're doing something slower paced, they would set it to 40, and this is something that's determined by NVIDIA as your playable settings, basically throttling the GPU so it doesn't consume as much and allowing the fans to slow down. But if you want the full performance mode without the acoustic management, all Max-Q notebooks will have the high performance mode that basically unlocks everything that the GPU has to offer. And that's nice. So performance-wise, it looks promising. Max-Q design brings those GTX 1080s to a very slim profile, but as we thin out those machines, I think the battery life will be impacted the most, and we also don't know about the temperatures. At least we have that target for the acoustic levels, so the fans won't be spinning to like 100% load to maintain those things cool, but I guess it will vary from one machine to another, but still temperatures and the battery life will have to be determined. We still don't have any information on the lower tier 10 series cards, so like the 1050 and the 1050 Ti, but it would be so cool to have those GPUs, which are still very powerful in the notebook sphere, to be included in like very thin ultrabooks like the XPS 15 or the Spectre X360. Imagine that's such a slim profile and still have a lot of GPU horsepower for perhaps editing and gaming. And that's it about the Max-Q design. I don't even want to speculate about the prices because, as with any notebook improvements in the GPU space, everything carries a chunky price premium. But make sure to subscribe to be notified when those machines are finally in-house so we can do our full suite of testing. I'm Dimitri with Canucks. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.